Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and as we patiently wait for Celtic to get back into action this weekend against Livingston, I thought, why don't we look ahead a wee bit? I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, I don't want to talk too soon, and I want to kind of live in the present because we've got a very important title race coming. However, there has been an important thing discussed amongst Celtic supporters quite a lot in recent months, and that has been the future of our side, the future of our squad. Who needs to stay, who needs to go, what needs to be brought in. We're in a state of flux right now when it comes to the state of our starting 11 and our greater squad. So next season, who should still be here for what could be a kind of mini rebuild at Celtic? We're going to talk about that today. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated as we try and get towards 50,000 subscribers this year. The international break is almost over. Thank the Lord, Celtic are nearly back. But before we get into talking about that game on Sunday, and before we get in depth about this title battle that's coming, I thought that we should look ahead to next season. A few people have asked for videos along this sort of direction, so we're going to do it today. I don't want to speak too long, and I want to just get straight into this, but essentially next season Celtic are kind of in a state where they need to go through a mini sort of rebuild. We've shown this season there's a lot of players who might not be the standard that we expect. We've shown that we need to improve significantly if we want to be winning league titles with ease, and alongside that, a few players probably need to go, and that's just being brutally honest. A lot of people have been asking me, Ryan, do keep, buy, sell, loan, whatever, do lists, do a tier list, who should stay, who should go. Well, today we're going to do that, exactly that. We're going to sit through and go through every first team player that's going to be at Celtic this summer and decide whether they should stay, they should leave, or they should be loaned out to try and get some development out of them. So, I know you're not all going to agree with me, but here's my opinion on it, and let's look forward. Big disclaimer, football is a very fickle sport, and over the next few games until the end of the season, opinions will change drastically on certain players. I'm going to try and look at this as subjectively as possible. I'm going to try and stick to my own opinion as much as possible. And I'm not going to let anything change that opinion unless there is a significant change in someone's form over the next few games. But we're recording this on what's the date? March 26th, so keep that in mind. This is every first team player that should be at the club come the summer. It doesn't include B team players who are out on loan. It doesn't include players who have just recently come into the team, like Daniel Kelly, for example. This is basically everybody of, significant transfer value, players that we've signed to become first team players. That's how we're looking at it. Plus, if I started putting in everybody else, we'd be here all day, and this will be long enough. So, you know the script. We're going to go through everybody. We're going to go through the reasons as to why we should keep, sell, or loan them. And come the end, I look forward to seeing the comments section. Let's start off nice and easy, shall we? Joe Hart is in the sell category, not because I want to sell him, but because he's retiring at the end of the season. It's the simplest place to put him. I'm just going to get that out of the way very, very quickly. Yuki Kobayashi has to go. He was meant to go in recent months, but Celtic actually rejected a loan offer for him to return to the J-League for the rest of this season, and he remains at Celtic. I think it's pretty straightforward. Yuki Kobayashi has been nowhere near the Celtic side, hasn't got a sniff of football since Brendan Rodgers arrived at the club, and in the short time that he did get football under Ange Postecoglou, it was proven that maybe it's a step too far for him. A lot of people might argue that we should loan him out and give him a chance, but I think the ship has sailed. I think that when you look at it realistically with the centre-halves that we have and then ones that we want to probably sign as well, it's just never going to happen for him, and for the best of both parties, it's an easy sell. Let's quick fire the next three, because I think this is very easy. We're going to keep Vickers, we're going to keep Ralston, and we're going to keep Stephen Welsh. Now, a lot of people might not agree with the Ralston and Welsh ones, might say, oh, we should just cut our losses and get rid of them, but realistically, we're in a scenario where we are falling quite short when it comes to the homegrown rota in the Champions League, or quota, sorry, when it comes to the Champions League, especially for club-trained players. Now, you can start to maybe replace some of these players like Welsh and Ralston with guys like Kelly who are coming through, with guys like Vata should they be given a chance, but realistically, as it stands, I think these two are going to remain on that homegrown quota for Celtic for years to come. I think that both of them have definitely got positives to offer. They've had some good performances. I've never been the biggest fan of the two of them. I think I've been very critical, but I can't deny that when they play well, they are of use to Celtic. So I would definitely keep them in keep for now. And then Cameron Carter-Vickers, well, that speaks for itself. I'm hoping that because of his fitness issues this season, that has scared off any potential suitors, and that we keep Cameron Carter-Vickers through the summer. But I think that you're arguably looking at Cameron Carter-Vickers being the most important player to keep at Celtic through this summer. It's not just a case of keeping him because he's good, it's a case of he's the most important player to keep now. I think we've showed up ourselves on a number of occasions this year with defensive disasters and how much we've struggled without him in the side. To replace him is going to be nigh impossible, I think. So it's an obvious one for those three. Odin Thiago Holm is a weird one. He's not really got going this year, and for that reason, I'm going to say we should probably loan him out. Because he's someone who's came in being very highly rated. He was rated as one of Europe's best young players the season prior to joining Celtic. There was a bit of excitement around him joining, and fitness issues have hampered him. But right now, I think the midfield is just a little bit too stacked for him to get consistent minutes. And you look at somebody like Kwon, who's went to St Mirren, and he's been doing brilliantly. That's the sort of opportunity I think Odin Thiago Holm needs to build that confidence, to get him playing week in, week out. Ultimately, if he's got as much potential as what people have made out, the only way he's going to tap into that is if he's playing football. So I would personally loan Odin Thiago Holm out. I know that it's taken somebody out of our already thin squad when it comes to quality, but he's someone that needs minutes more than anything, and he's not getting it at Celtic right now, and I really don't think he's going to get it next season. We're not even going to spend time talking about James McCarthy, okay? Right, I've done it enough in these tier list videos. We're not doing it. You know where he is, and you know why he's there. Kwon, I would once again loan him out next season. Very similar to the reasons I've just explained for Odin Thiago Holm. Look how well he's doing at St Mirren, and look how much it's benefiting him. If I was being perfectly honest, I would actually just extend the loan to St Mirren. They're playing well at the minute. They've got a good coach. They're a good side. And Kwon is performing well on that side. Allow him to grow, allow him to build confidence and keep the chemistry going with the players he's with. And if it's going well for him there and it's making him a better player, why risk it and send him elsewhere? I think the only other beneficial move for him would be something along the lines of a Hearts or an Aberdeen. Not even Aberdeen the way they're playing, but a Hearts or one of the clubs that might get into Europe because it's a step up in quality. But I would just keep him at St Mirren. I think he should be loaned out for the exact same reasons. The next stretch of players are actually very easy to go through, and I think we can fly through them pretty quickly rather than sitting here all day pretending we have to have a big conversation. Awata is definitely a keep. He's proven his quality. He's proven that he's a good player and that he's useful to Celtic, especially when we need that player to come on and protect the back line in the number 6 role. Awata does it really, really well. He's an easy keep for me. And he might not have been 6 months ago. If you asked me, I might have been saying loan him or sell him. But I think that in this run in of games that we've had recently, he's really proven his worth. So he's an easy keep for me at this moment in time. He offers good quality for when McGregor has to drop out. A solid option to have. Scott Bain, he's once again a keep, the homegrown quota, and a man that's happy to be third choice keeper. And listen, I don't think Scott Bain's a great keeper by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that he's a pretty solid third choice keeper to have. You know, there's certainly worse that you could have out there. So he's another easy keep. He seems perfectly happy, as he should be, getting the wage for what he does. So he's a keep. Matt O'Reilly. Now, there's a completely different conversation to have about Matt O'Reilly. You might think he's going to leave in the summer, but does that mean we should sell him? No, obviously not. We shouldn't. He's one of our best players, if not our best player. So it would be a massive keep for me. Do I think that he'll be here next season? Sadly, I don't think so. But if we had the option, I'd certainly be keeping Matt O'Reilly. Rio Hatate, once again, similar to Matt O'Reilly. No guarantee that he'll be a Celtic player next year should teams come in for him, but hopefully, just like Cameron Carter-Vickers, the fitness issues and the injury issues have kind of beat away some of the suitors for now. Maybe we get away with bids coming in for him in the summer and it kind of holds off till January or next year. But he's an obvious keep. Callum McGregor, once again, an easy keep. We've spoke about basically all the midfield options there. And I think that you're looking at great quality and great depth should they remain fit. If I'll just move Bain for a second, Awata and McGregor, Hatate and O'Reilly, that's our best four midfielders, arguably, when it comes to talking about specific roles. I mean, Iwata's second best to McGregor at that number 6. O'Reilly and Hatate are the 2 best players who play ahead of McGregor on the park. So they're all easy keeps. What else is there to say? I actually think that this is a bit of a difficult one when it comes to James Forrest, because we heard in January that there was talk that he could leave the club. Only 3 months later, does Brendan Rodgers come out and say that he's the best winger we have at the club, which I think is a damning indictment of the quality we have on the wings at the moment in time. But, I mean, if I'm being realistic, and I don't even know if I necessarily agree with it myself, he's probably going to be in the keep column, very similar to the reasons that Ralston and Welsh are there, because he's trained by the club. I know that he kind of just sits there nowadays and doesn't play much football, but I'll give him his credit. The last few games he's played when he's came off the bench for Rodgers, he's actually been pretty good. I think that realistically we are verging on the point in time where we need to start thinking about moving James Forrest on. But I can see him staying. I really can. I can see him staying. I'm going to stick with my own opinion though, and I'm going to put him in sell. And I know not everybody is going to agree with that, right? I know they're not. But I know he takes up one of those club-trained player slots, but that's a slot that can easily be given to Rocco Vata. And I think it's time we start looking at players like that getting opportunities over James Forrest. Even if Forrest is the better player, he's getting on a bit. And there was a reason he hardly featured for Ange Postecoglou's side. I think that's just realistically what we should be looking at, and I give him all the respect and praise in the world. But listen, this is somebody who I could change my opinion on over the next few games should he keep performing when he comes off the bench for Brendan Rodgers. The next 2 I think are relatively easy as well. I'll start with Kyogo, obviously a keep. He's not had a great season, Kyogo. He's not. That's just being realistic and being honest. He's just not been great. But he's still unbelievable, isn't he? When he turns up and he plays his best, you're looking at the best striker in the country. You're looking at someone who has came in and created the conversation for being the best since Henrik Larsson for a reason. And he just needs to find that confidence again, and hopefully over this next run of games, he does. He started scoring again, which is good. I think Rodgers has started trusting him a lot more in what he does. So it's an obvious keep. And he's getting to that age in his career now where I think he's pretty settled on being at Celtic for the remainder of it. So if Rodgers keeps using him in the right manner, then he's going to score a lot more goals for us. It's as simple as that. And Luis Palma, I would put into keep. Absolutely. I know that he's been hot and cold. I know that he's been subject to criticism since joining Celtic, but there's definitely a player in there. I like Luis Palma. He's just a very frustrating player. And once, he gets all those frustrating parts out of his game, and hopefully that's very, very soon, you're looking at a really talented bloke. You're looking at somebody who can change a game. He's scored some big goals for Celtic already. He's performed well in the Champions League on a couple of occasions. This is somebody I look forward to seeing the development of. We just need to hope that it goes well and not the opposite way. Yang, I actually think this is one of the most difficult players to try and discuss on this list, because part of me wants to shove him in here, loan him out, let him get continuous minutes for teams, let him play week in, week out. I would love to see that for Yang. I think it would help him loads, especially when trying to develop the technical side of his game. But I don't know what the state of the depth for the wingers department is going to be next year at Celtic. Are we going to have enough wingers to afford to be able to let Yang go out on loan? Because you don't want to shortchange yourself. You don't want to leave yourself... Look, I've got Forrest, for example, down in sell. So if you sell Forrest, and then you loan out Yang, suddenly you're very bare on the right hand side. You know what I mean? And I don't trust the board to go out and spend money on 2 or 3 wingers this summer. I really don't. So I think realistically you've got to keep Yang up here just because of that for now. If we had an abundance of players on that right wing, he'd absolutely be somebody I'd be loaning out next year. But I just think until we have that depth there and that proven depth, we need to keep him around for the minute. He's played well in a couple of games recently. I still think he needs a lot of polishing up, but he's not finished. He's not finished. He's only just getting started, really. O is somebody who needs to be away from Celtic to get better. I don't know in what capacity. I don't know if it's by loaning him out. I don't know if it's by selling him. I'm going to put him into loan for now, because there is definitely attributes to O's game which show to me that you could be looking at a future Celtic player, Celtic starter, and Celtic goal scorer. There's attributes there. However, what's he meant to do when he's not playing football? Adam Ida's came in and taken his place. O's not going to get any better when he's not playing football. It's as simple as that. And he's not played a hell of a lot of it since he even signed for the club over a year ago now. You know, his minutes have been sporadic. His starts have been very few and far between. He needs minutes somewhere to develop as a football player because he's still a very raw striker. He's still got parts of his game that need significant development. I have been very critical of O in recent months, and that's for a reason. It's because I just don't see the quality there, and I think that's why he does coming in and taking his place. But I think that he needs to go in some way. I'm not convinced on him, and until he gets minutes, it's going to be hard to be convinced on him. The next two are easy for me. Siegrist in the sell column and Marco Tilio. You might think, Ryan, that's unfair. Poor Marco. He's not kicked a ball for Celtic, and he's out on loan just now trying to get better. I think that ship has sailed. It's just one of those ones that this is not personal by any means. I would love things to work out for Marco Tilio. He was somebody I was quite excited about when he signed. I thought he looked good, and I heard a lot of good reports about him from Australia. But it's just got all the makings of one that's not meant to happen. It's very Daniel Arzani-like. It's got all those vibes. I just don't think he's ever going to play for Celtic. I know that's another right winger we're talking about here, where the depth is already thin enough. He's out on loan right now. I'm not too sure how well he's doing on loan. I think he's doing okay. I just don't think it's going to work out. I think that Celtic should just let him go, to be quite honest, and see what they can do when it comes to a transfer. Benji Siegrist down the same route as that, with the sense that, you know, he's not really doing anything here. I'm sure he probably wants to play football again. He's not going to be number one when Joe Hart goes, and we should be signing a couple of keepers anyway. So for me, Benjamin Siegrist goes into that sell category. It's as simple as that. Maeda, the most frustrating footballer in Celtic history. I'm still going to keep him in keep. Look, listen, he does my head in as much as the next guy, and sometimes I hate him. But, you know, he's important. He is a good player when he decides to turn up and remember how to play football. And he's definitely got attributes that are important to this Celtic side. He's an easy keep for me, despite how frustrating he is. Mikey Johnson into sell. I'm not caring. Don't start crying and he's doing well for West Brom. He's doing so well. I don't care. Good for him. I'm happy to see him do well. Let him do well. Let him move on. If it's West Brom that want to sign him permanently, or if anybody else has caught interest in him since he's performed there, let him go. Let him do it. I actually feel sorry for him at Celtic at this point in time. He needs to go for the benefit of himself. He's showing how good he can be when he's allowed to enjoy his football and when he's playing every minute of every game. That's something he's not going to get at Celtic. And people might say, oh, he deserves to be in there over Palmer or Maeda. Does he though? Does he really? He's had chance after chance for fucking 5-6 years now. And just because he's performing at West Brom doesn't mean to me that he's going to be somebody coming back to start for Celtic. Let him go. Let him enjoy his football. I wish him all the best. It's just not going to happen at Celtic. I think this is an easy one. Nicholas Kuhn goes up here. We've just signed him. And he's actually played well in the last couple of games, despite a shaky start to his Celtic career. He's played well in the last couple of games, and I hope that continues to improve and he continues to show why we signed him and why we spent £3.5 million on him. So he's an easy one for me to put up to keep. Very, very early days in his Celtic career. My guy, you sometimes forget he exists, but he does exist. Sead Haksabanovic. I would love to give him a second chance at Celtic, but it's not going to happen, is it? He's not had a very successful loan spell at Stoke, not successful enough to suggest that he should be getting a chance at Celtic again next year. And it pains me to think about it, but we're probably going to just have to sell him, aren't we? Maybe we try and loan him out again. Maybe. See if we can get him one that's working, but it's just very similar to what happened at Celtic for him. That's what's happening at Stoke right now. He's on and off. He can play really well one week and then dross the next week, and he just can't buy consistent starts. So I don't know if it's an attitude thing when it comes to Sead Haksabanovic. I would love nothing more for it to work out at Celtic, but I just think, being realistic, he's probably going to move on. Breaks my heart. The two fullbacks have lined up beside each other coincidentally, and it's very easy for the poll for them, isn't it? Both Johnson and Greg Taylor. keep. Should they both be starting for Celtic next season? That's been a question. I certainly think Alistair Johnson should. I think he's still great. I love him. Taylor definitely needs that competition, doesn't he? Now that Bernaby's gone, he is our only kind of recognised left back in the first team squad, and that shouldn't be the case. And we need to bring in another left back next year. But Taylor definitely stays for me. There's no doubt about that. And Johnson, I don't even think there's worth having a conversation over. He's in there. I'm now looking at this, and before I made this, I thought I was going to have a lot of people in the loan section, and I don't. But I think that's because there's a lot of people already out on loan who are like kind of B team players or whatnot, and they're not part of this list. So I'm quite surprised right now, because I don't think anybody else is actually going to go into the loan list. I think that's it. Lagerbielke is sell. I mean, I like him, and I would love to see him get chances without having to, jump straight into the sell category. I'd love to be able to back him up. How can I when he's not playing football and he's getting paid to fucking be a statue? I don't know what's happening. People ask me every live stream I do, what's happening with Lagerbielke? What's the Lagerbielke situation? I wish I knew. I really do. It's a bizarre one, and it's always going to be. It's quite funny looking at scales now, because in recent weeks people have flipped fucking 180 degrees on Liam Scales, and I think a lot of people would have him down here, you'd think, with some of the reaction. I'm keeping him up here for now because he's proven his worth. He's proven his depth quality to Celtic. He should not be starting for Celtic next season. That's a given. He shouldn't be Cameron Carter-Vickers' centre-half partner. But he's definitely good enough to remain an option for Celtic. I think that he has been very poor in recent weeks, and he's been very frustrating, if anything. But you can't take away from what he's done for Celtic this year and how important he's been. He's stepped up. He was thrown into the deep end, and he stepped up massively for us. And for the large part up until maybe the last few weeks or month or so, he was really, really good. So I'm not going to take that away from Scalesy. And if he's got that in him somewhere still, then he's definitely of use to us. So he's a keep for me. Finally, Mike Nawrowski. I'm going to keep him in keep for now. I think he's somebody that you could argue could benefit from a loan move. And do you know what? The more I think of it, I'm like, maybe loan him out. Because if we sign another centre-half, what happens to his place in the pecking order at Celtic? Because we do need to sign another centre-half. That's an absolute given. So maybe we loan him out. I don't know. I would like to see him play football, because he's somebody who I had a lot of high hopes for. But I think if I'm being realistic about it, he's probably going to be in the keep category. I think he could benefit from a loan move. Do you know what? I'm doing it. I'm convinced myself here. If this comes down to a big if we sign another centre-half, I think Mike Nawrowski should be loaned out somewhere on the continent probably. Let him play. Let him try and build that form he had when he was at Legia Warsaw. And, yeah, absolutely. Now, this is funny, because we're down to the last two players, and both of them, of course, aren't Celtic players. Paulo Bernardo is a Benfica player, and Adam Ida is a Norwich City player. They don't play for Celtic. They're not contracted to Celtic, I should say. They do play for Celtic, yes, they're on loan here. And I'm going to, put them into... So if I don't think they should stay at Celtic, they'll go to sell. And if listen, I'll cut to the chase. I think both of them, at this moment in time, should be considered as keepers. Not goalkeepers, as keepers. I think that we should consider signing both players. I know that might sound like I'm jumping in a bit early with Adam Ida and really, hyping him up a bit too much or whatever. But when I look at the fact that I think O should leave the club in some capacity, Kyogo and Ida are two good strikers to have. Then you sign a third striker. Then you sign somebody who should be coming in to challenge both of them. A good striker. And then you've got three... Listen, if we went into next season with three strikers and it was Kyogo, Ida and a new signing who looks good, I'd be buzzing with that. So Ida for me is a keep at this moment in time. I think he's got qualities that are really good for certain games, certain situations that we've not really had in a striker since Giakoumakis left the club. Was meant to have them, and he doesn't. And then Bernardo, I think if the price is right, he's a keep for me. I think he offers good depth into the centre midfield, and I've said that for a while. If you want all my opinions on him, there was a video the other day, go and check that out. That is my final listing. So that's it, and interestingly enough, I only have 16 guaranteed Celtic players in the keep column. 16. It would be 18 with Bernardo and Ida, but they're not guaranteed to sign for Celtic, so 16. Now remember, you're meant to register a 25-man squad for Europe. That leaves 9 spaces. Leaving the club, I have, quite a lot of players as well, freeing up some spaces. So it just shows you there's a lot of work to be done in the summer for Celtic. If we were to, I don't think this will be what happens. I think that, for example, we'll see Forrest stay. I think that McCarthy will end up staying. I wouldn't be surprised if, Nawrowski's staying as well. I've only put him in there for my own personal opinion. And the same with like Odin Thiago Holm, for example. I don't think we'll end up with 16 players, but I think we should. It's my opinion. That's what the squad should look like heading into next year. So let me know what you think. Right, it was a long one, so I'm going to wrap it up very, very quickly. If you've enjoyed, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and what you agree and disagree with. That's all for me today. I'll see you next time.